Hi, I'm Pav, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can successfully self-coach. Now, it might sound, counterproductive for me to give you this information. Ultimately, why would I want to, teach people to do a job that I want? But realistically, I completely understand that I'm not going to coach everybody. Coaching is not necessarily for everybody, and I have a capacity that I work to anyway to maintain the best service that I possibly can with the people that I do work with. So for me, I've always just really enjoyed watching people improve. So if I can give you the information and the tools to go away and actually do that for yourself, that's my job well done. Obviously, I love it when people reach out and they say, thanks Pav for the information, I've done this and this happened, it was great, blah, blah, blah. But that's not an obligation on your part, just because you're watching my video. So as per usual, if you're watching this on the blog and my website, if I reference any other blogs or papers at all or anything like that, you'll find those links down in the blog itself. And if you're on my YouTube channel, you'll find everything in the description. So if you finish watching this and you think that there was some confusing bits, check there first, check the description on the blog first to see if I've linked to other information. And if you're still confused or I haven't quite written that or explained it well enough, do send me a message. Okay, so number one thing, if you're going to self-coach, the first thing you need to do and think about is personalization. Now, this is something that I, as a coach, have been pioneering in this industry for nearly 10 years, at the time of recording this. And that is that personalization. I got really popular as a coach because I was looking at what was available to like amateur cyclists, and there'd be two people training for the same event, maybe a 10-mile time trial, and they would have the exact same plan, same training plan. And I was like, that's ridiculous. They're two totally different people. One could be a builder, contractor, and another could be a teacher. So there's no way that they should have the same training plan because they have different day-to-day jobs, have different stresses, they have everything that needs to be factored in. So number one thing for me is you need to just list down what makes you unique from that point of view. Ultimately, the most basic personalization point is your time to have that you're available. This is why I love Swift. I love what the guys have done, but this is the problem around those training plans that you can download and do for free is that they're not personalized to you, and actually fundamentally, and you're just not going to see the results. You might see some results that are good, but they're not going to be amazing, and they're definitely not going to be long term because the training it doesn't fit around you. That's basic level personalization. To take it to a really in-depth level, you need to look at your commitment, your goal setting, your mentality as a human being. You need to look at everything that makes you a complete cyclist. When you've done all of those, that's when you can truly say your personalization is complete, and that's the level of that I operate as a coach, and ultimately that's if you should be looking to replicate that as if you're self-coaching. So definitely look at yourself as a human being and look at what your training might look like or need to be in order to reach your goals. Okay, so the next thing again, right, this is a huge one, and I'm always beating on my mate Dave, or everybody's got a mate Dave, and I'm sorry if your name is Dave. My dad's name's Dave, and I have lots of friends who are named Dave. But in my experience, everybody knows a Dave who seems to think that he knows everything, when in reality he knows very little. And even worse, most of it's anecdotal evidence. And I have a friend who is, I always use this story as a reason for sourcing reliable information. He went out and he got totally hammered, really drunk one night, and the next morning set his best ever 25-mile time trial time. Amazing, right? Good for him. But I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. And the problem is with anecdotal information that gets passed around through various different people is that actually, some people start to believe that, and it can be really quite challenging to face that down. Especially if you don't really know what you're doing, you could find some misinformation. So definitely, not to say your friends might not, they probably have the best wishes, they might not know what they're talking about. So definitely find someone that's qualified. If you're not willing to pay for someone who's qualified, find freebie resources, loads of stuff online like my blog. my YouTube channel, but there's loads of coaches who you can listen to for this information. And just make sure, they're citing credible resources themselves, that they've got the right experience, they've got the right qualifications, and they're not really basing it on anecdotal information. You shouldn't really be following what someone else has experienced of cycling training, because it works for them, it might not work for you. So reliably sourcing your information is going to be really crucial for you to see that right goals for you, or the right gains for you. So the next thing that I really think is massive is you're prioritizing your training. And now this is kind of quite tricky, because I talk about this in my blog and video about finding the perfect balance between your work, family, and training, right? Because training has to be synergistic with all of those things. So if you have like a 40, 50-hour work week with young family and obligations as husband or wife, training has to fit in with that. It can't be a chore, it can't be a burden. You'll get through that period where it does feel like a chore or a burden, or you're doing this for a reason that just doesn't make sense to you anymore, for a short period of time, but it isn't long-term training. So again, you need to look at yourself in that manner and figure out exactly what is, where to prioritize your training. And that's less is a more, especially long-term. Like that long-term consistency in training is huge. You will see more gains from doing little for longer than a lot in a shorter term. And that's a massive part for me, a massive part. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about, this complete cyclist that I love to work with my clients. I always talk about this on my videos and blogs, because it's holistic. We really need to stop looking at cycling coaching or training as just the training that you do on the bike. There's so many other things. I mean, we're not even talking just about training. Yes, okay, we're going to talk about, bike training, off the bike training, flexibility training and stuff like that. But ultimately, there's this great big list that I'm going to try and recite off of all the things that you should be looking at to make sure that you can achieve your goals, which is the main point of obviously this journey. And it's nutrition, mentality, your tactics, and that can be as simple as pacing, but ultimately that could also be race tactics if you're racing. Techniques, so that could be as simple as being able to eat and drink on the bike, but it could also be like efficiently pedaling, so you're not wasting power by having an inofficial pedal stroke, but also like efficiently climbing hills and stuff like that. So now I'm going to have to look at my notes, which I can't read. Hydration, that's a good one. Hydration, that again is massive. Personalization. Most people think just drink water. Some people think just drink electrolytes and water, but ultimately we all sweat differently. We sweat different amounts of sodium and different quantities of the fluid in total, different quantity of the sodium within the fluid. So, having a personalized hydration strategy is going to be really important too. So most people mess up on that. Recovery, the way you look at your recovery, again, has to be super personalized. Again, this is something that I always talk about in all of my, my recovery-based blogs and sleep and stuff like that. Huge. It needs to be personalized to what you're doing, but you need to master your recovery, otherwise you're just not going to see the results that you really want to. And the last thing on my list is data. One of the things I love talking to with my clients is helping them understand their data. I think a big part of me as a coach is making sure that I can give my clients enough knowledge for them to go away and be able to self-coach. That's not to say that they're going to leave because they can, because a big part of coaching can be the accountability, the friendship, the camaraderie, the motivation, everything that is factored into being a successful or a great coach. But ultimately, you should be able to understand why I'm setting this. And that's fundamental. If you're going to self-coach, you need to understand why you would set that, and then you need to be able to look at your data once you've completed it and understand exactly what that means and how that's going to help you then progress that training and adapt it day by day, week by week, block by block, and everything like that. So it is a lot, and that's why coaching is a growing industry, and why ultimately I do recommend that a coach is great for everybody. I mean, you might not need it, it depends on your goals, but you would see benefits from being coached, guaranteed. But like I say, this isn't a sales pitch for me. But if you do need any help with that, any of that, no obligation, 15-minute free chat with me. You don't have to worry about me trying to sell you something or signing up or anything like that or guilting you. Don't worry, just reach out. Let's have a chat. I love talking about this. And ultimately, if there's anything that you think that I've missed or questions, simple questions, leave me a comment if you're on YouTube or send me an email on the website. And I'll look to expand it, improve it, or answer your question. That's absolutely fine. So that wraps it up, really. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you give me a thumbs up on YouTube and share it with your friends. And similarly, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss anything, and subscribe to our newsletter, my newsletter on the blog. We're doing both phone and email, because we're moving away from email. Email's crap. Nobody reads emails anymore. But text message you're going to read. So text message from me to tell you when my latest blog drops. Promise that's all you're going to get. So anyway, thanks so much. I really appreciate you giving the time to watch this video. And I'm Pav, and have an amazing day.